The modern community for Mount & Blade has always been famed for how incredible it is, yet this has never been clearer than in the title that is Bannerlord. Despite its smaller pool of modding tools at this early point in its lifetime, there has still been no shortage of absolutely mental modifications coming to the game, and much like Prince Andrew at a kid's birthday party, I am incredibly excited. Because this, my friends, is perhaps the most game-changing mod for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord ever. This is Crusader Blade. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold your horses there! There's something I want to tell you. Raid Shadow Legends is the best game ever made. Seriously? Don't believe me? Okay, fair enough. It's a free-to-play mobile game that mixes intense, massive boss fights with extreme combat. Some say the best combat system in any game ever. I enjoy teaming up with my many friends. Raid has a ton happening this month, with a fresh rotation of the brutal Hydra boss and tons of events every single day, including some special Valentine's Day events where you can get your hands on a brand new legendary champion. So like me, you can feel lonely on the sexiest day of the year, because you've got a massive number of heroes to choose from that all have their own unique skills and looks. My top 5 being Rowan, because they got some super good attack moves, Exemplar and Faceless, because they have next level helmet designs. Oh, they look cool, don't they? Whisper with her Void affinity. I mean, she has no weakness to other affinities, very powerful. And finally, Soulless. His shield looks amazing, and like me, he has no soul. So, click the link in the description or scan my QR code on screen to get the free champion Hyena, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard. Oh my, does it get any better than that? I don't think so. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here. So play Raid Shadow Legends for free on iOS and Android today. Oi, Resonant, what are you doing? This is old news. Look, am I late to the party? Yeah, a little bit. Technically, I guess it's a mod for 2 games, not 1 as well, because as you'll see, Crusader Blade doesn't just completely change the way Bannerlord works, but more importantly, how it interacts with another massive medieval epic. This game being Crusader Kings 3. Crusader Blade as the mod links up both games together to make one hell of a unique experience that I think many people would have only dreamed of in the past. CK3 being Paradox's grand strategy set in the Middle Ages, growing kingdoms, relationships, and heading to war with other neighboring, less superior and less sister-sexing nations. Honestly though, you would think CK3 players only play that game for the incest with the amount they talk about it. Jesus Christ. Yet for me at least, when you look at the strategy genre, or big historical franchises at that, you've got 3 main layers. Crusader Kings at the top with their grand strategy level, basing most of what it does with the wider picture, a scale more authentic to real life. Then you got the Total War games, meeting a nice middle ground, showing some unique features, bringing an RTS element to that grand strategy, but not being quite as detailed as CK3 is. Then we go even more intimate, into a game like Mount & Blade, really not focusing on grand strategy at all and being more of a in-the-mud RPG, putting you in the battles as a soldier, blending those lines between being a lord or infantry on the front line. So at one extreme you've got CK3, the other extreme you've got Bannerlord, so mixing the 2 ends of this spectrum has got to be a hit, right? The mod itself, Crusader Blade, links both CK3 and Bannerlord together. Once linked, you can start your regular Crusader Kings campaign, just as normal as you'd expect. Nothing all that new there. The change comes when you want to test your gall and head into battle with some barbarian peasant who thinks they deserve the land they were born on. Once engaged in a battle, the mod will create a link between the 2 titles to form a custom battle in the Bannerlord game itself. Of course, there are many limitations as we're going to get onto, but within the boundaries of both titles, the custom game created is as close as possible to the battle you initiated within the Crusader Kings 3 game. You can then play as that army and command them to victory within Bannerlord, giving you so much more intimacy with your character in your CK campaigns. Speaking of character, the mod tries to replicate character skills and troop numbers on the Bannerlord battlefield. It does this based on the commander prowess and troop composition in Crusader Kings 3, of course, to the best it can. Not only this, but you can take it a step further by adding in custom banner mods to Mount & Blade. This gives your men the sigils that you would expect on the battlefield. Yeah, it's kind of impressive, right? But it doesn't end there. As far as I can tell, terrain is also taken into account. For example, a grassland battle in CK3 will load up a grassland map in Bannerlord. Once again, limitations apply, but the two games try and link up the best they can to replicate each other. Additionally, the troop compositions such as infantry and archers and cavalry numbers are attempted to be replicated within Bannerlord to maintain that immersion that you're really playing out these battles that you oversaw in the CK3 campaign. There are also correlations with the results of the battles. Of course, winners and losers are translated between the game, but also to the extent of casualties within, of course, a margin of error. These are calculated, so the results such as casualties and wounded in Bannerlord are seen on your CK3 campaign in the aftermath of an event. All this is kind of a bit mad. Something, as I mentioned, I never thought we would see when modding first came to Bannerlord. But unfortunately, whilst it sounds amazing, it's not all plain sailing. You see, when it comes to these two games, whilst they do have some similarities, mostly within setting, let's be honest, on the whole, they're completely different titles with very little correlation between the two. Therefore, errors and limitations are to be expected. CK3 for one is much bigger in terms of scale, and that's really hard to compare in Bannerlord. For example, in CK3, a battle with over 1,000 troops on one side and 500 on the other can't be directly translated one for one into Mount and Blade, or at least not yet. Therefore, it's turned into a battle between 500 men on one side and about 120 on the other to fit the scale better for the Taleworlds game. Does this really matter? No, not really, but it is an important thing to know. If you thought you're going to get your full 1,000-man army from CK translated one-to-one into Bannerlord, you might be a little bit disappointed. The mod itself is limited to the max of what Mount and Blade at this point in time can churn out. Speaking of large battles, if you've got a weaker PC, you may be running into issues with the mod as they link up. As you can expect, 1,500 troops on a CK3 army probably makes no difference. It doesn't render all the individual units. But when it tries to load up those big battles into Bannerlord, you'll probably be better off using that GPU for heating up a lasagna than playing any of the confrontations here, if you've got a weaker PC, that is. But hey, limitations are to be expected, and despite these issues, it actually works surprisingly well. When I first heard of this mod coming out, I was astonished, since when could this be a possibility? Then it actually did release, and it doesn't just work, it works pretty competently. The link between the two, when you launch from a battle in CK3 to a custom game in Mount and Blade, is almost seamless. There's a tiny bit of loading, but it is pretty quick, or at least from an SSD's point of view. All in all, it's times like this where I think normally underrated modding scenes and developers get their time to shine. Not only enhancing a game like Bannerlord, but more importantly and more predominantly, enhancing a game like CK3 to the point where you've almost got an entirely new experience. You get the battles of Total War and Mount and Blade, but still having that advantage of the incredibly complex and large-scale grand strategy that the Crusader Kings series has always brought to the table. Something that never would have been possible until now. But let me know, have you tried it out? What do you think they should do next? It kind of sounds insane saying this, but CK3 has multiplayer and co-op. Bannerlord has a co-op mod that's in the works at the moment. What if, much like Total War, you could jump into your friends' battles and help command a portion of their army in Mount and Blade from CK3? Yeah, that sounds insane and kind of impossible, but if you asked me what's been done here was possible a few years back, I would have said the same. Hell no. Crusader Blade has done the impossible. It is possibly Bannerlord's most game-changing mod of all time.